Hi, I'm Heinbach. Good to have you back. A few months ago, YouTube reached out to me and asked if I wanted to contribute to the YouTube audio library. The YouTube audio library is a place right here on YouTube where you can get music to use in your videos. They said I was to have a completely free hand in what I was going to do, but they suggested a theme for me, which was Halloween. I immediately jumped on that theme and decided I wanted to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Create a horror movie soundtrack. Growing up in a small town in the Black Forest in Germany, there was little to do on the weekends. After rehearsals, we met at my bandmate's home and watched worn VHS copies of Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Dario Argento movies. The way the soundtracks to these movies by John Carpenter or Goblin sounded, coming from the small speaker in the tube TV, fascinated me. The frequency-limited sound of the wobbly VHS became something I always associated with the sound of horror. So I knew from the start that the sound of tape would have to be involved in this production. Before recording anything, I rewatched some of these classic movies. Especially Dario Argento's Suspiria struck me. The soundtrack by Goblin is very varied, and there are some tracks that wouldn't even fit in a horror film as we understand it now. There's a whole range of contrasts, sometimes even upbeat music in there, which I found delightful. So I decided that instead of delivering a whole set of atmospheric dark drones and high pitches, I would deliver a complete soundtrack with contrasts, different scenes, and even tracks that would work outside of horror films. Usually when I work on a soundtrack, I read the script first. Be it a play or a film, this already gives me a feeling for the texture the music has to have. And then I bounce these ideas with the director and we try out different instruments, and from there on it develops into a process. Here I only had my own ideas. I decided I needed a title first. I tried out stuff like Evil Blood, Blood Ritual, and lots of other blood-related titles, but settled on Codex. In the movie playing in my head, the evil was both ritualistic and seductive. There has to be an erotic component to it, instead of just a slasher movie. With the title settled and scenes playing in my head, I decided to work on the instrumentation. With any project like this I'm doing, I like to focus on a core set of instruments that tell the story. This creates a cohesive soundtrack instead of a collection of many different tracks. As I had already decided that the sound of tape would be important for this project, I wanted to use tape loops. And for that, there's little better than the Library of Congress C1. I've made a video on this beautiful machine that you can check out here. For this project, I knew deep basses would be a must, so I chose the Roland SEU2 for that. This little synth has become my favorite classic synth of this year. It's small, tiny, portable, and has a lovely sequencer. It's just a perfect package for what I'm doing. The SEU2 also goes well with the Roland TR-606. It can easily be clocked by that. For effects and mixing, the Coma Field Kit effects was my first choice. The EQ on that is brutal, which enables quick decisions. And the effects are lovely and very gnarly. You got a spring reverb in there, a digital delay that's based on a karaoke chip, a frequency shifter, lots of stuff that are very creative and can be modulated with CV. The second mix is the Fostex X28H. I did not use the 4-track part on this, but I enjoy the way the preamps on this overdrive. The Elasis Wedge is the main reverb. I find that it envelops the signal very well and has a certain darkness and deepness to it. Even though I could have worked on this project piece by piece over 2 months, I decided I wanted to do it all in one go. A similar situation to when I compose for a soundtrack. Usually you have tight deadlines and a lot of crunch time in the end. So I limited myself to 7 days. To achieve that deadline, I knew that I would be working in the same way that I do most of my tracks. Record an analog mix live while I perform it onto a Telefunken M15 tape machine. The best thing about this process is that it raises the stakes. You have to play the track, you have to play the mix, you have to get down onto tape, and that puts me into a flow state very easily. And in a flow state, I make my best decisions, as what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and what I'm doing are one. And that happened with every single track on this album. The acoustic properties of magnetic tape on a well-tuned tape machine will also make mixing easier. Tape takes care of a few things for you. like the bass response, and also transients. It gives the track glue, which is something I don't think people talked about before the advent of the digital audio workstation. This is an unusual way for modern film music production, where everybody's gotten used to request edits and changes up until the last moment. But the people I work with have come to embrace and love this technique. I usually give directors, be it for film or for stage, a bunch of tracks to work with during improvisations or during editing of the movie or even during shooting. That sets a baseline for understanding from where it's easy to create the rest of the music. After setting the process and basic instrumentation, I started to make a list of the tracks that I would need for this movie. When composing for screen or stage, I usually start with the big three: the main theme, which sets the mood, the big action set piece, where the music becomes the most intense and dynamic, and the love scene, where it's most intimate. Once these pieces are done, the rest of the music tends to fall into place. The first thing I did was creating cassette tape loops. Each loop is its own musical idea, and through the combination of these ideas, I could assemble pieces and play around them. When recording tape loops, the choice of recorder already becomes part of the arrangement. For a fuller sound, I use a Marantz PMD 222, but if I want something more mid-rangey, I use a dictaphone. Most of the musical ideas that I have are longer than the 5 to 7 seconds you can get out of a DIY loop tape. That is why I use factory-made loops, which are available in a variety of lengths, from 20 seconds to 5 minutes. You can get these at many tape duplication plants. To create the loops, I used many different instruments. The Teenage Engineering OP1 was one of the main instruments. I've created so many sounds for this small synthesizer that I know instinctively which go together well to create the emotion I'm trying to convey. The combination of these loops together with the SEO2 became the brooding main theme. From there on, I moved on to the action sequence. I was imagining a car chase, or a car full of fueled up teenagers driving past the coastal line to their impending doom. To create that excitement, I recorded guitars at a low speed and pitched them up to high speed. And then I added a sequenced line on the SAU2 and the TR-606 to get that driving sound. I ran the whole mix really hot onto tape, so it sounds a bit broken and distorted, which was exactly the texture that I was going for. The love scene that I imagined had to stand out from the whole horror around it. It had to be romantic yet sensual. So I programmed a simple beat and a Motown-like bass line, and tape loops drift unhinged over that. After the big three were done, I went on to make the last big piece, the exit music. imagine the camera panning out from the protagonists, the fog lifting, and the whole scenery being revealed. After the big stuff was done, I started working on the atmospheres and secondary themes. All in all, it took me 5 days to record everything. I let it sit for a while and then I went to master it. With tape, his is your friend and also your enemy. If you've got a lot of tape loops spinning and you record the tape, it can become a bit overwhelming. So I used Isotope RX to get rid of a bit of that hiss. This tool has helped me a lot of times in removing unwanted noise. I didn't use much compression because everything already ran through a Bug brand bus compressor as it was recorded to tape, and the tape of course added its own compression. With the internal EQ in Ableton, I cut out unwanted frequencies and then I matched the volume of each track by hand. After that I used Vox & Go Elephant to even it out a bit more. I decided against hard limiting the tracks. I wanted to leave headroom for mixing. Because once you assemble a movie, you need headroom and you need space to mix around. And once you pull down a hard limited track, it will just sound flat in the mix. After everything was done, I loaded it up into a Google Drive, filled out an Excel sheet with all the taggings such as mood and tempo, and sent it off to YouTube. Then I asked my visual designer, Nani Gutierrez, who made some amazing music videos for me, to create a cover. Because this whole thing is also available on Bandcamp, if you're not interested in using it in your videos and just want to listen how the whole thing sounds. If you have a movie or play you would like me to score, get in touch. I'm always looking for new projects. That's it for this video. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.